All right, let's hit the play button. We're gonna resume this. I don't know if this is how this bell worked, but that's how this bell is working today. So I'm just getting back, Aquarius. This is your part. Um, and I got some food, and I got a fortune. So we're gonna kick your section off with this fortune. The other fortune is mine. Um, I remember the two times I got like blank fortunes and fortune cookies. Oh, I'll eat this half. No, I'll eat the other half. This half is yours, Aquarius. I'll just set it there for you. Come on, focus, focus, focus. A diet is a selection of food that makes someone rich. Is the fortune. Almost, almost. There, anyway. A diet is a selection of food that makes someone rich. I don't get it. Maybe it's because it's about a diet. And right now, my diet is fast food, sugar, and more fast food. Girl, coming out. I've been on the, I'm gonna like use HelloFresh, to at least get a meal a week or a few meals a week, like of like real ingredients, whatever. Said that when I came back from the UK in June. It didn't happen. Ooh, it's fine. It's about you, Aquarius, not me. So maybe you're dieting, Aquarius. That actually makes me think of the solar plexus chakra, though. The solar plexus being the chakra of nourishment and how we nourish ourselves in all ways, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. What we do or what we consume that our body breaks down and then turns into something that it can use to rebuild, repair, replenish, rejuvenate, restore itself. A lot of re words. So, all of these I've already shuffled. We're going to start with the largest star in the Wild Unknown Tarot. And then we're going to go to the smallest in the Tiny Tarot. Ooh, Seven of Cups. Seven of Cups upright. Ace of Cups in reverse. These are all upside down. So I'm going to turn it upright. Aquarius, I'll pull for you from the bottom of the deck. So, Ace of Cups. Are there reversals in here? Or is it the Wheel of Fortune the only card in reverse? Actually, with the Wheel of Fortune in reverse, the sun is at the top of the wheel. Um, Ace of Cups, Page of Wands, Ten of Wands. This Page of Wands is interesting because it came out on the other side. That's the Herald of the Flame. So, with all of this originally being in reverse, immediately it makes me think because that would be Ace of Cups in reverse, Page of Wands in reverse, Ten of Wands in reverse. So, it's like having the heart to do something, but taking on way more than what is for one person to take on, right? So, it's not about like in Aquarian energy, especially. It can be easy to take on burdens or problems of an entire collective as an individual. but collective problems or collective issues require collective solutions and collective efforts. It's not necessarily for one person or two people to do everything for everyone. So let's find that star and get these constellations built. Okay, we're getting to the top of the deck. There's our star. Oh, wow. So this is our largest star in your constellation. It's in between, I think I keep the signifiers out. Yeah, I do. It's in between the tower and this moon. What's interesting is it almost feels like this tower like there used to be three trees until this tower fell. And it feels like this part of the tower fell because it was blocking the moon. So this is the first in your constellation. Two of Wands, Three of Swords. Outside of that, again, it's the synergy. It's like a pathway was open, but now it's blocked because of this Three of Swords. This Three of Swords probably tied to this tower. The color of the flames, the color of the thread. Oop, almost put the tower back and kept the Three of Swords. So that's the first star in your constellation. I'm going to go for the Gilded Toroid Royale next. You have the Page of Pentacles, the Eight of Cups, and the World at the bottom of the deck here. Page of Pentacles, Eight of Cups, and the World. It's interesting. It feels like there's a new energy coming in. There's a beautiful, because of the peacock, new energy coming in. But with this Eight of Cups and with the moon up there, it feels like it's searching for the right place in the world to put that energy. Feels like it's searching for the space in which it'll thrive. Looking for the ooh. Now we got the King of Cups in reverse. Wheel of Fortune in reverse, King of Cups in reverse. Oh, here's the star. So the star is in between the Hermit and the King of Pentacles. For that's what, Virgo and fixed Earth Capricorn? Taurus. Capricorn? Virgo and the Hermit, Taurus, and fixed Earth, King of Pentacles. So we're continuing the major theme here with the Hermit. The outside of that is the Two of Pentacles and the Five of Cups. This Two of Pentacles is interesting because of the Rainbow Bridge. So there's a quantum energy here. And it's quantum because these two, even though these two pentacles are separated through the Rainbow Bridge, they still interact with each other. So that's that energy of like, no matter how much space exists between these two particles or whatever, a change in one produces a change in the other. And it's simultaneous. But it feels like everything in between them is changed or there's something about that rainbow bridge where it's like if you can position those two poles as the thing happens that triggers that rainbow bridge, it's like something, it's about intentionally placing the two poles so that something is caught in the middle, right? And so I guess it's interesting because I was just saying, like, it's not one or two people to do what is for the entire collective to do. But if you have two people engaging or interlinked in a quantum way, positioned in a certain way, then everything between them will be affected. We'll see. We'll get into the next one. And we have the High Priestess, the Knight of Pentacles, and the Wheel of Fortune at the bottom of the deck. There's a heavy, I mean, it feels like trust here. Because I think that was for Kirsty. It was this, oh no, was that for Kirsty? No, I don't think that was for Kirsty. I think that was when I was shuffling the deck before I started pulling cards for Kirsty. It was the Six of Swords and Death. It was at the bottom when the tiny tarot cards that fell on the floor. It was something, the Six of Swords, Death, and something else. And that's when it was this energy of like, as you are moving in your personal life with that Six of Swords energy, it's coinciding with some greater, grander, major arcana transiting energy or energy of transition with that Death card. So the Six of Swords was matching that Death energy. And it feels like this Knight of Pentacles is moving forward, all the while something is turning, spinning, moving outside of their immediate vicinity. And it almost feels like a bubble. So that could be like you are protected, or there's an eye of the storm around you as things are changing fairly chaotically outside of you. On the, like, on the other side, on the flip side of that though, that could be an energy where you hold yourself stagnant and the environment around you stagnates, so that as everything else is growing or proceeding forward, there's a timelessness around you that keeps you almost in an energy potentially past that energy's time. It could go either way. That's for you to know. But we'll see if anything comes out to clarify it for the Aquarian collective. Oh, the Chariot, the Empress. What was that? The Chariot, the Empress, the Tower, and Death. Okay. Excuse me. That's a string of energies. There's a mini title card for this mini tarot deck. Here's another one that's fairly close to the top because I'm pulling from the bottom. Which is interesting. Oh, there's two title cards in this tiny tarot. And we are very close. Here we go. The Four of Swords, the Star, and the Four of Pentacles. The Four of Swords and the Four of Pentacles is the second star of fairly equal size to that second. the third star a fairly equal size to the second star. This one is a lot, I think this one is a lot closer to the conscious, the surface level, the immediately perceivable and visible, though. So we're going to do it this way. Since these are of equal size, we'll do it like this. I wish I had this set up where y'all could see the table, but it didn't happen. So maybe I'll take a picture after this is over and use it as the thumbnail. The Seven of Pentacles and the Two of Cups is here at the cut. That feels like working towards um, a unionizing point or a point where energies come together. Which is interesting because that's feeling like the lines in between stars in the constellation. So, Teeny Tarot. This will be interesting. Again, the Seven of Cups is at the top or is at the bottom of the deck with the Magician and the Queen of Pentacles behind it. So this is about, it's like, it's interesting because it feels like it's about the options that are presenting themselves are like resources more so than the things themselves. Because there's very much a DIY or some assembly required energy because the Magician is here. Well, I went to a store and I got a quote on a bag, almost like a fortune cookie. And it's interesting because yesterday I went and it was like if it doesn't put your heart at peace, let it go. And then today I went back and it was what is coming is better than what has gone. But with the energy of the Queen of Pentacles here, it feels like it's about more, it impacts more than just the self. Or it's like, depending on the choice, it can put you in a position to like overflow, be in a surplus where you can give back or where you can be whatever is needed in whatever situation. Right. So let's flip through these tiny tarot and try to find the star. Magician, Tower, Emperor in reverse. Wheel of Fortune in reverse with the Eight of Cups. I almost feel like it would be better to just, teeny tiny tarot card title. Teeny tiny title card. There you go. Goodness. This is the only Rider-Waite Smith deck I have, by the way. It's this tiny tarot. Oh, oh, oh. Oh, 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 oh. Was this another title card? What is this? I wish it would like focus. I don't know what that is. It's not our star. Oof. We are this close to the top of the deck. Pulling from the bottom again. Devil in reverse, temperance upright. There's the sun with the king of swords in reverse. Is the star here? Hello? Is the star in this tiny? Here we go. Goodness. I was like, look, these are all the cards I have left to reach the top. So it's the Five of Wands, the star, and death. Lots of majors. I guess the Four of Swords, Four of Pentacles didn't have a major. But we got the Hermit, the Moon, the Tower, and Death with the King of Pentacles, Four of Swords, Four of Pentacles, Five of Wands. It's interesting that it's the Five of Wands in Death because, oh, look, here it is right here. The Six of Swords was behind that Death card. And that's what it was earlier. I think it was Death and the Four of Wands. I think it was Page of Pentacles. Yeah. Page of Pentacles, Six of Swords, Death, Four of Wands, maybe. I'm going to try to scooch these on out of the way. I'm just going to like put these back in the box now because I don't want to have to fight with them later. Okay. So the biggest star in this constellation is in between the moon and the tower, which makes this feel like it almost has like a algal energy to it, where it's like the star will twinkle and bad stuff happens. Algol is the head of Medusa in the constellation of Perseus, I guess. And when it twinkles, then that's like Medusa turning something to stone or whatever. It almost feels like a bad star. It feels like it reads as, or it feels like it's been interpreted as a bad star. It doesn't feel like in reality it actually is. Where is it? Where is it? Here we go. What was the fortune? Diet is a selection of food that makes someone rich. There we go. So that's the largest star. It's connected to, and the way I put it down is like they branch out on different pathways. So it's the moon, the star, the tower. And then on the star in the middle, it's the hermit for this branch, and then the Four of Swords for this branch. So it's the hermit, the star, the King of Pentacles, the Four of Swords, the star, the Four of Pentacles, and then it's the Five of Wands, the star, and death. So the Five of Wands is connected to the Four of Pentacles. Death is connected to the King of Pentacles, and that's how it's like laid out. Okay. So there's a tower that happens so that something is revealed, right? Because again, it feels like there was a third tree right here in between these two, and that one probably in some divine intervention or in cause like moved by a hand, a non-human hand, this middle tree was felled and it revealed the moon. Now, the moon being revealed in that spot is interesting because again, there's this energy of it being a bad star, but it's not really a bad star. It's just like the way it's been coded or attached to some mythology or interpreted, misunderstood, very misunderstood energy. Now, that feels like because there's this isolation, illumination, oneness that's at the head. Sorry, Aquarius, if you start here because the other video ended with Aries. These are the overarching three cards: oneness, illumination, and isolation. Isolation illuminating oneness, oneness illuminating isolation. So it feels like a series of like isolated incidents that get attributed to this star to get whoever was looking at the stars and writing the books or writing down the correspondences originally to get them to like believe that the star had some kind of influence in an area that it didn't necessarily. Like that feels like the energy of isolation. But it's pulled into the constellation in a way and it plays into the story in that way. But again, it feels like with the moon here, it's an inaccurate or not completely accurate read of that or depiction of it. So with the Hermit going into the King of Pentacles, this feels like the world sort of flourished or time went on with that misunderstanding. And what were the cards? It was the Ace of Cups in reverse, the Page of Wands in reverse, and the Ten of Wands in reverse. It's not those. I feel like I saw this at the bottom three cards. It might have been in this deck. Um, but it feels like the world like moved on with this misunderstanding, and that's the King of Pentacles. The King of Pentacles is like the state of the world and how it's grown and matured and reached some kind of culmination up until a point where things have to change again. While that energy or the truth of that star has been isolated. Now, because of the Hermit holding the lantern with the star inside, I would venture to say that not everyone shares this misconception. I would venture to say that there are some people who know the truth of that star, and maybe there's a certain power connected to it or a certain something about it that someone somewhere decided not to share. Instead, they would use it to capitalize off of it and become that King of Pentacles. On the other side is the Four of Swords and the Four of Pentacles. Where did I put my glasses? Because I'm going to have to look at these. There they are. There's this, I can't tell if it's a lion or a white tiger, so we'll call it both. There's this sleeping strength and high priestess energy here. And then a Four of Pentacles on the other side. I was going to say something about that sleeping lion tiger, but it slipped my mind. The Five of Wands and Death. Being honest, I don't necessarily see or feel Aquarius in this, like the Aquarian person, but maybe like this is the collective. So, right, Aries was the individual, Aquarius is the collective. Because with this Five of Wands on the side of that sleeping strength, it's like there's something that we fight for. There's something that those who don't know fight for, contend for, compete with each other for, that the energy that's in the know can just like utilize to completely transform energies or to completely it's like they have the truth of that. And maybe it is a death energy, and that's why it can be really easy to sort of like see as a bad star, or it can be easy to pin it as negative. But it's like in reality it can be a star of like creation, but in order for that creation to come to be, something else has to like cease to exist, right? Like every ending is a new beginning, and so it's almost like the truth of that star is creation and a new beginning. The way that that star goes about like bringing that energy to fruition is by closing something else. So it's like on the King of Pentacles side, the Hermit knows the truth that that star is about creation, but on the Four of Swords, Four of Pentacles, Five of Wands side, it's like it's just seen as like the star of like death or the star of endings or the star of destruction, and so it's like it becomes again like a bad star. And so because of that, it's almost like it gets really easy to get stuck in loops because there's a closing energy that opens up to a brighter, newer, next energy that's avoided, actively avoided with the Five of Wands, but wholly embraced on death with that King of Pentacles. It's seasons. Now, where the person comes in or where the people come in, it's when we, it's like what we hold on to. And it's our willingness and or ability to let things go so that we can receive new knowing or an expansion and increase, whatever. Aquarius being fixed air, because it's fixed air, it isn't necessarily the quickest to change. And also because it's fixed air, it feels like it can be the easiest to, it's a very like Neptune, it's a very attributed to Neptunian energy, where it's like Aquarius can create logic where there isn't logic to preserve whatever it holds as the truth, right? To keep that airflow constant, it will manipulate everything around it so that it remains true. And that's the bubble. That's the more negative aspect of the bubble, where it's like the wheel of fortune is turning, things are growing, flourishing, progressing, going towards that future around Aquarius, but because Aquarius is fixed, it keeps everything around it constant, and it creates these things to preserve itself as so. That's where the magician comes in. It was the magician and the queen of pentacles. That's the energy. Was it the seven of pentacles, the magician and the queen of pentacles? It was the seven of pentacles, the seven of cups, the magician and the queen of pentacles. That's the energy I was trying to get earlier. I already forgot why. Well, yeah, I already forgot why. So on this left side, it is almost like to rest in your knowing is to keep yourself from experiencing any expansion, any increase, any progression, any movement. And to do that is to almost go against the energy of your planetary ruler of Uranus. Coincidentally, Uranus is in Taurus right now. But Uranus also ruling fixed earth or fixed air Aquarius is kind of like interesting. It's an interesting choice, isn't it? Because Uranus is also associated with what, the Fool card, and Uranus being associated with the Fool makes sense because of Uranus being that you can read it as rebellious, troublemakery, um, sort of energy where it'll just like cause havoc and mayhem for seemingly no reason. But everything that Uranus does, it does for a purpose and it does for a reason, right? It's not chaotic just for the sake of causing chaos and disharmony, and like it's not the Five of Wands. Uranus can be the Five of Wands if it needs to be the Five of Wands to get to the Six of Wands, to get to that world, to get to the Wheel of Fortune, to get to the changing of circumstance, to meet whatever is the next thing. Like it can go in and be a little Five of Swords, Five of Wands, Five of Cups, Five of Pentacles, but that's not the point and the purpose behind it. It's almost like Uranus is a vehicle to get us somewhere. And if there are things in the way of that destination, Uranus will bulldoze right through them. Unfortunately, we sometimes develop dependencies on certain structures, on certain ways of being that work against our interests or that keep us stagnating in a place that we actually don't want to be. A lot of times we can form dependencies and connections on that. And even if we don't like it, we can sort of use that as the basis of some kind of stability. But again, like if that's in the way of Uranus, then it has to go. Or Uranus is going to fight it. So that's where Uranus becomes like this rebel and stuff. But again, it feels like that's not the point. It just sort of like happens. But if you let it go, then it wouldn't be the same. You know what I mean? It's attachment that makes things difficult. And this is a very attached, very sort of hoarding, stagnant energy with the Four of Swords and the Four of Pentacles. And it's interesting because it feels like it creates a stabilizing force, or it feels like it can get someone to stabilize, but there's no empowerment in it. That's why the lion tiger is asleep. There's no empowerment in it, and there's no active connection in it. It feels like if there's any connection in that, it would be like looping whatever the thing was a long time ago. Right? It's like if you could record whenever you get a message or an intuitive hit or whenever your guide tells you something, if you could record it, it would be like playing that over and over and over again. It's like, oh yeah, I'm connected, I'm doing this, I'm like blah blah blah, whatever. but it's like the message has changed because time has changed, destination has changed, a lot of things have changed. And so maybe there's an element of discomfort here that makes it easier. So it's almost like even if it was intentional, even if it was almost like malicious or whatever, it's like, well, Aquarius is like loving it. Aquarius is buying into it. So if it's what Aquarius wants, then is it that bad? It's almost like I don't want to call it low hanging fruit because it doesn't necessarily feel easy, but it does feel less difficult than like facing a truth. And again, like Uranus paired with fixed air is interesting. Now, with Aquarius, like being future forward thinking and future focused, that I could see, I guess. Uranus holding those qualities and Aquarius like fixing on that. But besides that, oh, that's why it's Saturn traditionally. Okay, that makes sense. It is traditionally ruled by Saturn as well. So, just as an aside, who would I put Uranus with, if not Aquarius? Maybe like a good Libra energy, with Libra being cardinal air while simultaneously being about like balance. I can see that. Being cardinal in a way to establish or provide some kind of balance or new balance. So it's a little challenging on the Aquarian side. But I also think that's why the Ace of Cups, Page of Wands, Ten of Wands came out in reverse at the beginning, too. Because maybe Aquarian energy has been too focused on, it's almost like too focused on the collective, maybe, or too focused on the external, too focused on things that it can't control, that it's neglected the things that it can. And that almost feels like the weight that the collective puts on the energy of Aquarius through like, oh, the age of Aquarius is going to be this, and the age of Aquarius is going to be that, and it's going to da 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 da, right? So there's a lot of weight on Aquarius right now. A lot of collective hopes, a lot of collective dreams, a lot of stuff to be something. But who in the collective is becoming? It's almost like this mass, I don't want to say like forfeiture of power, or like this mass externalizing of where the burden of choice and change and stuff is. But it's just like, oh, like Age of Aquarius, things are just gonna like magically happen. And I don't know if that's necessarily like always the case, but I think it is like there are things that we might have to revisit, especially like spiritual sort of things. Maybe that's what this is. Because it's almost like things are not where they were. That's what she did. Sorry. I think my mom just tried to open my door and she didn't knock, but it's locked. Anyway. Oh, I didn't even catch this. There's a rainbow on this Two of Wands too, but the Two of Wands was blocked by that Three of Swords. It was open, and then the Three of Swords came in and blocked it. You know, this also makes me think of the 15 commandments. It's where, like, I think it was Mount Sinai. Moses went up for however many days and nights in communion with God, got the 15 commandments, came down, saw everybody just acting plum fools, like they ain't got no sense. And I think, according to whatever, he was so like dismayed or upset or whatever that he like threw one of the tablets and it broke. So we get 10 commandments on 2 tablets rather than however many commandments on 3 tablets. Like this is that broken tablet. But without that tablet, we have to rely on the human mind and human understanding to bridge that connection. And there are certain things that the human mind isn't capable of. I don't want to say it's not capable. So instead, I'll say, because of the human condition, it can be really easy for the person to interpret something in a way that reflects their experiences, their fears, or their desires. There are a lot of things that can cloud a person's judgment when it comes to the truth. And so if you can already like, or if it's already possible to cloud the truth, imagine like trying to get something that like is not communicated or that is like missing. Right? Like if it is right in front of our eyes and we all see it differently, imagine like what we don't see. And maybe that's where it comes down to paths and journeys and stuff like that. Right. And I feel like part of that might actually be the case. I looked down at this to see if the sword was pointing upright, face down, it's face down. The lion is asleep. Why would the sword be face up? Well, at least the lion isn't swinging swords in their sleep because that could get nasty quick, right? But it introduces a lot of challenge. It introduces a lot of struggle in spaces where it doesn't have to be. But again, it feels like it plays on the human condition. It's an almost devil energy, honestly. It's like it is, but it isn't. Because it's like it's partially like it plays on the human condition. It plays on our access to knowledge and information. It plays on our ability to access knowledge and information. Um, Accessibility of that knowledge and information. It plays on the encrypted or um, metaphoricality of that knowledge, like how straightforward it is. You know what I mean? But it also plays on like again, like hopes, fears, desires, on our emotions. If we want something bad enough, the mind will start to create things that aren't necessarily there. So we can conclusion because that's the conclusion we want to reach, not necessarily because that's the truth of whatever we're looking at. It's what we want to be true. The moon and the tower. And so because of that, it's almost like we do it ourselves, right? We don't have to be enticed to see something in a certain intentionally misled or misguided by someone else or some external whatever, we can do it ourselves. We do, a lot of people do it themselves, right? A lot of us do. And that's why it's like it is, but it isn't devil energy. Maybe it does partially play on like, oh, this is like what they want to hear or whatever. So we can tell them this and tell them that, but keep the truth of this other thing to ourselves. But again, it's like, and that was the thing about like on the Aries side with the Herald of the Flame that came out, because Aries was always, because Aries is the individual, and this individual and the collective space, Aries is actually at an advantage. I thought Aries was at a disadvantage because it would have less cards, but more cards isn't always an advantage. I don't know if there's any advantage to Aquarius over here. But again, it just feels like because it externalizes so much, or it's because it puts the hope of the fulfillment of something like off into the future. It's almost like it can be so future focused that it struggles to ground itself in the now, in the present, and to do things at present that will create a path to that then, until the then becomes the now. Which is interesting because again, it's like you would think Aquarius is really good at that, creating that path to the future. But maybe it carries a similar, because that, what is it, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces are like universal sort of signs or universal energies or whatever. So it's just like how Pisces can be super dreamy, but Pisces isn't necessarily action that it takes to realize those dreams. In a creative space, gorgeous, amazing, because of how creativity sort of works. That is so weird. I'm looking at, oh, it's my zebra tripod. I'm looking at my zebra tripod and I see like a black oblong sort of shape with two white swingy things, and it made me think of like Spider-Man, like a black Spider-Man. I don't know anything about Spider-Man to know which Spider-Man was in a black costume, or the symbiote Spider-Man girl. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But the black Spider-Man is looking at me. But yeah, maybe it can be like Pisces, where it's like getting the vision, but not always necessarily like bringing that vision, bringing that dream to reality, to fruition. And so maybe Aquarius is like really good at like almost like knowing what we need more collectively. It's like it's good at like knowing the needs of a collective, of a community, of a group of people, but it isn't necessarily good at like doing the things to make that happen. But that's why you have Leo on the other side of that polarity, right? Leo is like, it's like Leo being ruled by the sun. It's the Aries side of this energy. Aries had Sun in Aries, Jupiter in Libra. It's like Leo would have to do to sort of like put that energy out into the world to be the change I want to see, basically. So, what can or Aquarius? Ooh, Witch's Tarot in my hand. Let's go for it. King of Pentacles right here. With the star on the bottom of the deck. Star on the bottom of the deck. King of Pentacles. Right there. I'm going to try to not send these tiny cards flying. Flying as I shuffle. Put them put them back. Okay. What can help Aquarius? Because it's like if you don't know, you don't know. You know what I mean? Star at the bottom of the deck again. Who's behind the star? The Three of Swords, Eight of Pentacles, Six of Swords, Six of Swords, Eight of Pentacles, Three of Swords, the star. There's something about this energy because the Eight of Pentacles is here. There's something about this energy that perpetuates pain as it seeks to heal it. So, for example, let's say that someone is slighted by somebody and it hurt them and it causes some kind of Three of Swords pain trauma. What they'll do is it's almost like for them, their path to healing is getting to a point and position where they can inflict that same pain on somebody else. It's like it's more concerned with like reversing that dynamic, being on the giving end of it rather than the receiving end of it, more so than it is about like healing or resolving it. So it becomes the villain, basically. And when an individual becomes the villain, they may think that they've triumphed in some way, but on a collective level, they're preserving the status quo. Now they're another villain who's going to victimize, hurt, traumatize, abuse, misuse other people. It keeps it going rather than bringing any real resolution to it. Oh, snap. Oh, what? Okay. Well, the King of Pentacles was at the top. Queen of Pentacles, King of Pentacles, King of Swords. King of Swords, fixed Ariquarius, Taurus, and Capricorn. Cardinal Earth. Queen's Cardinal, King's fixed. Um, the Queen of Pentacles is right here with the Ace of Wands and the Fool. Okay, yeah. Pentacles is gonna go for that King of Swords. I was like, I saw the Queen of Pentacles when I picked up that Two of Pentacles with the Ace of Wands and the Fool behind her. Look at this Ace of Wands and the Fool, though. I think that's that bad star. Oh, the King of Pentacles is on the table. King of Pentacles is on the table, Two of Pentacles, and the Queen of Pentacles is at the bottom of the deck. See, this was like when they're quantumly linked, whatever between them is changed and transformed, those two pentacles. With the cards that just came out, there's no distance in between the King of Pentacles and Queen of Pentacles. Like, not even the people, right? Their pentacles are facing each other. So they're not even changed or transformed. I don't know if that's necessarily a whatever, but it's like, again, like they're right next to each other. King of Swords is on the other side of the King of Pentacles. I think the same is true here, though. Right? Pentacles off to the right, Queen of Pentacles off to the left. It's almost like the way the Queen of Pentacles is holding her pinnacle. It looks, or it acts, behaves like a mirror. So it just bounces back or reflects whatever the King of Pentacles sort of like sends out. And I don't know how helpful a mirror will be. A mirror isn't helpful if, I don't want to say if the thing is wrong, because I don't want to necessarily use the word wrong, but a mirror only reflects whatever you put in front of it. So you're not going to get anything out of a mirror that you don't put into a mirror, which is again, like it explains, to be the change that you wish to see energy. When we think of the a series of mirrors, mirror you, you mirror me, Bob, Jill, Joe, Susan, Sally, we all mirror each other. But it almost brings to like the forefront that problem of like when a parent has a child, a lot of parents want to do better for their children than was done for them. But how do you give something to someone that you yourself never received? If you never got it, received it, how are you supposed to give it? And again, about the mirror, like it can't give you anything that you don't put into it. The one thing that we have to be able to receive is asleep. And this, that's the high priestess, the white tiger part of this tiger lion. It's asleep. And because that's asleep, we rely on the knowledge, teachings, writings of other people. Then we decrypt and we decode, or we just take on that knowledge and information. And it's almost like that's why the Ace of Cups is in reverse. The Ace of Cups, especially in the Wild Unknown Tarot where it came out, is my Wellspring card. It's like that's where we connect to source, and it's in reverse. And again, that's the energy of like replaying like old messages or old like receivings or downloads, replaying old downloads. But it's like, how many of those are relevant to the times that we're in, and how many of those are going to get us to be where we want to go? It's like, and it's like some of the things that we pull knowledge and inspiration from, it's like, how well did it serve those people? Like, let's say that you listen to some millionaire's advice on how to become a millionaire, but that person is like miserable. They have all the money, all the stuff in the world, but there's still a void that they can't fill. And so it's like, if all you care about is money, then like, yeah, maybe they'll be able to give you great advice, but like, I hope you're not planning to get some kind of fulfillment or happiness or anything from following that, because that's not what they're giving you. Like, yes, they may be in a position that you want to be in a certain aspect, but sometimes maybe we should have a little bit more of a holistic approach, or have a little bit more of a holistic eye. Because when you're without, it can be really easy to focus on acquiring or getting or making up for that lack. But again, it's like, what will it do if it just brings on other problems? That makes me think of Into the Woods. It's like when the dude is like, no more questions, please. And then the narrator, his father, is like, running away, let's do it. Right? Free from the ties that bind, but better take care, unless there's a where, you'll only be wandering blind. Just more questions, different kind. Nothing is resolved. Trading problems for problems, never getting solutions. You can't get anything from a mirror that you don't put in front of it. And the channels to receive have been down. So we're going to look before and after the High Priestess here. And we're going to hope she comes with some kind of medicine. Oh, there she is. Oh, well. Oh, wait, this is interesting. Okay, because she's different. I thought it was the moon again. Karma, the high priestess, and the Four of Wands. Under that Four of Wands is the Ace of Cups upright. Thank you. On the other side of that is the Ten of Pentacles. With that Ten of Pentacles is the moon. With the moon is the Lovers. Under the Lovers is the Ace of Wands. Ace of Wands is like somewhere down here. Behind that Queen of Pentacles, I think. Yeah, Ace of Wands, and then the Fool, the bad star. Oh, look at this. 3 people. Remember how the Tower was the third tree? And between those two, now we have 3 people here under this eclipse. The sun and the moon conjunct higher in the sky to the point where the trees won't sort of shroud. Oh, maybe I should have done it this way. To the point where the trees won't sort of shroud or block or disrupt receiving that message. And then the Four of Wands is there. Sun conjunct the moon. I almost wish. So the one thing about this is Aquarius is like it's a constellation energy. It's the collective, right? On a whole. The moon eclipsing the sun is all about perspective. This is all about perspective. The moon isn't big enough to eclipse the sun if they're side by side. And that was the thing with this, right? And that at the beginning of the part 1 of this video, I was like, I don't know if the smallest deck is the smaller star or if it's just farther away. So to get the sun and the moon to allow some kind of perspective. And it's almost like in that moment, oh, I just lost it. The moon is a mirror. The moon reflects sunlight. But, okay, so I'm just going to say it. The moon is a mirror and the moon reflects sunlight. But the sun is almost like a projector. It's because the light from the sun that we see the world around us in a certain way. And depending on where the sun is and how it's positioned in the sky, shadows can sort of like move and sort of shift in a way to make things appear different. Even the positioning of the sun can make things appear different. So it's like the mirror is eclipsing the source of light. The mirror is reflecting the light back at that source of light so that on the other side, see things as they are. Eclipse, it's dark. And that was trying to be avoided here, avoiding the dark. Not everything that obstructs the dark is light. Not everything that obstructs the light is dark. Everything in between is shadow. Light and dark aren't at odds. Light and dark don't fight each other. Light and dark are at balance. Light and dark were created in balance. It's only when something tries to obstruct one thing or the other that distortion starts to sort of like appear, and where things are more open to interpretation and can get lost in translation and things like that. But again, at the same time, it's for us to all have our own sort of like interpretation and translation. But another thing, it's like when that eclipse happens. Oh, this is the mirror part. When that eclipse happens and the mirror reflects the light back at the source so that none of it sort of makes it to the surface, that's when our light is visible. So it's like what's inside of us begins to what's inside of us begins to bleed out because that mirror, instead of it being turned towards us, it's like turning away from us, and it's keeping light from reaching us at the same time. I think in a good way, I think it can be a moment and a time for us to sort of like really see some stuff, especially where like there are again like attachments to an external collective energy for us to individually personally feel some type of way. This is rough. I didn't necessarily I really thought that Aquarius wouldn't be as rough as Aries for some reason, or I thought it would be made more straightforward because there were more cards. I'm glad I stopped myself because something isn't necessarily going to be more difficult or harder to read because there's fewer cards, and Aquarius isn't necessarily going to be easier because there's more. That's isolation illuminating oneness. But it's isolation illuminating oneness in a way where it's like if we don't have a good relationship with ourselves, or if there's some kind of struggle that we have with ourselves, that struggle can be mirrored in other relationships or projected onto other relationships that we have. That's like isolation illuminating a warped sense of oneness. Because the thing about the mirror is going to reflect whatever you put in front of it, right? So it's almost like it's of oneness, or it doesn't necessarily impact or affect oneness, like Earth, the world, the planet you live on, and the conscious. It's almost like, and I guess we're slipping into the matrix or whatever, but it's almost like the world is created in such a way to reflect back to you whatever you put out, especially if that's like the setting you're running it on. And so self isn't very like strong or deep or like toxic and rotted or something, that's going to become the world. That's going to be that oneness that like is experienced. Now, I personally believe we get to know ourselves more fully, and when we can allow ourselves to individualize, then we get to experience other individuals. Then we become a collective of individuals. We become 7+ billion people rather than 7+ billion copies of one person to different degrees, right? Like, oh, this person has more this and that person, like, instead of just different like balances of the same core traits or whatever, we actually become like entire beings, entities of our own. And then it's more than just a mirror. But it's almost like it wouldn't matter if you haven't explored self. Like if we don't know ourselves, if we're disconnected from ourselves, it could be somebody completely different on the other side, but we'll just like project ourselves onto, I don't know, anyway. Since this is the Witch's Tarot, this is also the mother, the maiden, and the crone all in one place. See the crone here. She's by herself. Is she the one that's missing? Oh, duh, it's the High Priestess. It's like she's the one that's missing, the High Priestess, which is why we connect to her anyway. I don't know if that necessarily gave me the happy conclusion that I wanted, but it is what it is. So, there's no more fuss and there's no more scenes in my garden. Brian, you should see my nectarines. And I'm telling you the same I tell kings and queens. Don't ever, ever, ever mess around with my greens, especially the beans. Oh, that is a title card. It's the box art for this box. Where is it? There it is, the Tiny Tarot. Aquarius, that was a little rough. Rough. Saturn is in Aquarius right now. Okay. Saturn, Vesta, and the Ascendant was in Aquarius when I looked earlier, but it's probably moved since then. Saturn and Aquarius squaring. Oh, snap. Uranus and Taurus? Did that square Titan? Because I think Uranus was like 15-ish degrees, 19, between 15 and 19 degrees, either 15 or 19 degrees. And Saturn was like 19. I really don't want to leave it like that for Aquarius. What's another way I can see this? If you are an Aquarius that has done that within you, it might just be a time thing. Because Aquarius is a collective energy, right? There are things that are for the collective to do. And so maybe it's to allow the time for other people to have the opportunity to do for themselves. And when enough individuals within the collective do, then that's what like shifts the collective. It's almost like if you think of it as averages, right? But I think, again, that can be a double-edged sword because it can be, there's the potential to fall into a trap of thinking that you've done everything that you need to do and the rest of the world needs to catch up, to get complacent. And maybe it's true for a little bit, but as the world changes and metamorphoses, then it's like it might be time for you to like go through your next step. You know what I mean? It might not be one of those like you do this one time and you're like good forever. I think Wheel of Fortune, Three of Swords. I think again, it's just like it can be really, really easy to be like, oh, the collective is going through this, or to project. It can be really, really easy to project onto the collective, on the other people, a certain whatever rather than face the self. Six of Swords with the Knight of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck. It was Six of Swords, Knight of Pentacles, death. This is you moving, Aquarius, within your own life, within your own being, within your own person. At whatever pace is your pace. Now, from the outside collective, it might, or like from the outside, or trying to like take an outside point of view, it might seem really slow, but you're moving appropriately paced, adequately paced in your own time and space, right? And then the collective will shift and move. Queen of Wands. Almost flipped half my deck on the floor. Collective will shift and move in its own time, but with the Queen of Wands, it's like my connection is unstable. I'm just gonna keep talking. If this doesn't record, it doesn't record. With the Queen of Wands, it's like it actually, you magnetize something towards you. It's a both. It's like you bring a truth towards you. So it then becomes not about the world. Question mark. Almost like you sort of like blip your bubble into a space where something already is, rather than, I don't know, that's weird. Rather than waiting the full time that it plays out. Right? It's like if, in your current reality, humanity is projected to have all electric vehicles by 2050. And that, okay, maybe I should have chosen a different example, but for this, just gonna go with it, okay? Let's, by 2050, we're gonna reach a point where next, whatever. And that's this trajectory that you're on right now. But with that Six of Swords and the Knight of Pentacles, it's almost like that's that timelines thing. It's almost like you can shift into like an accelerated timeline. And like, let's say that like that's you doing what you need to do within you, you reaching these moments, whatever. And as you're doing it, there are more people like that part of the reflection. It's like there are more people outside of you that do it. So it almost feels like it's like for things that are faster than the speed of light, it would be too fast for a mirror to reflect. Almost. So it's like it beats the reflection, or it's like it's too fast. And so it's almost like it forces a mode switch. Don't ask me, Aquarius. But that's what it feels like. Shifting timelines and ending up in a timeline where it's like it something reaches conclusion a lot quicker. The Five of Pentacles, I'll go ahead and take you. The Ace of Wands, I think. The Ace of Swords, actually. Oh, but the Ace of Swords is upright. The Ace of Swords and the Four of Swords was in reverse. Those feel like five moons, those five pentacles. This is a very interesting energy. I guess with this Knight of Wands at the bottom of the deck, the Knight of Wands was the one who gave a message to Aries, right? But with this Five of Pentacles, because it's it looks like 5 full moons. Like in every phase of the moon, it's full. Maybe this is also like multiple sides or multiple faces of the moon. So there is no dark side of the moon here because the moon rotates on an axis as it revolves around the planet. So we see different sides of it. It feels like this is a emissary or a convoy. I don't think convoy is the word. I'll stick with emissary. It feels like this is an emissary of that other timeline. Or it's like threads of that energy that exist here in the now, or it's somebody or something that's there. And then this Ace of Swords upright is the realization of what that energy actually is. Because here with the Five of Pentacles, the Five of Pentacles it's a card of lack and being outside, isolation. It's a card of isolation. But something about this isolation, I don't know if it's because of I would most easily attribute it to things that Aquarius does within Aquarius that gets Aquarius to experience this isolation and for this isolation to illuminate a greater, grander, truer oneness. Again, it's the one that like breaks the refractive or reflective nature of reality, where it's more than just a mirror. Where we can see the truth of ourselves and the truths of each other in a space where those truths don't have to compete. And that's the part of the age of Aquarius that I don't want to say the part we got right, but it's like truths don't have to compete. We can all allow each other to have our own truths. We can allow ourselves to have our own truths. We can allow our respective own truths, and our world can become a lot brighter, a lot more, I guess, expanded. Our world can become a lot more capable of housing the true vastness of the all than it currently is. Because we'll be one. That's fine. We ain't got to flip into it. But the all is many things. And I believe that the all is many things. You don't have to share that belief. But it's also my belief that as each of us embody fully our own truths, and as we can hold our truths and show up authentically in that truth, and when we can allow others to show up in their truths, authentically in their truths, then it's like we get a better idea of what the capital T, capital R, capital U, capital T, capital H truth is. Like the all caps truth. Because again, it feels like an individual experience. I mean, if you think of the all being like any possible variation or deviation of literally anything or literally everything, I guess duality is a thing. I was going to say, how can a single individual experience one thing as multiple things? Anyway, don't let my limitations or beliefs influence or impact you. If that part don't resonate with you, don't take it. You know what I mean? The High Priestess, that's what I said, right? Or was that what was that other card? Karma. It was karma. But it's like the High Priestess is that moon, was that middle whatever, and the connection with the High Priestess was severed in the Tower card and this Tower card. And that's why the High Priestess is depicted with the moon. Anyway, High Priestess. The Five of Cups. The Emperor, so come through Aries energy. With the Empress? What? High Priestess, Five of Cups, Emperor, Empress. The Tower, and the Nine of Cups. Was there a breakout energy? Death? Six of Swords, Death, maybe? Girl, wait. So with this, it feels like someone who's like literally breaking out of their reality, girl. But then I noticed that rainbow up there, and I think about the Two of Pentacles and like that quantum whatever. But it's almost like if like collapsed it, they collapsed it inside of this tower, and then things just got, and then they used it to escape. Girl, ask me. High Priestess is here. I don't know. Cups energy together in the same space, collapsing whatever this tower symbolizes. The bottom of the deck is the Ten of Pentacles again. I feel like I saw the Ten of Pentacles. Just the Ten of Pentacles. It's like that's the inheritance that we have to sort of like gain. That's what we leave to our children and our children's children and our children's 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 children. We do it within self. And then we show or help others. I don't know. This Aquarius was kind of interesting, I guess I'll say. Is that the Page of Cups? The Ace of Cups. Sorry, Ace of Cups up right. I put the Tower on top of it. I just put the cards back up. And I saw that checkerboard pattern. Death at the cut. That Five of Pentacles, Ace of Swords energy is really interesting. Maybe that's the Tower. Is that Flissa? I think that's Flissa. I gotta put these back. I'll pull before and after Flissa as the final card. Flissa for me is that something isn't right here. And then it's like, so Flissa is the something isn't right here. And then we go, And then we go about our day. Maybe we're a little more attentive, paying a little bit more attention, watching everything. It starts to like, wow. I always want to say matriculate, but matriculate is not the word that I want. But it starts to like break down. And then we're like, not necessarily to the point of like a paranoia, but it's like we start to question it. Like, is anything really off? Maybe we say yes. Maybe we say no. Maybe like, Flissa is just whatever. Like in one ear, out the other. Not for me. But maybe, just maybe, that can be the beginning of. Don't ask me, girl. Two of Swords came out. Daughter of Pentacles is at the bottom. Daughter of Pentacles is the collapsed polarity, confirmed by Sun meeting Moon in this Two of Swords. Because remember, with that Two of Pentacles, the rainbow between them, and then I was like, in the Tower, somebody put those two things together, and the two pentacles exploded, and then the person broke out of the Tower. Because Emperor and Empress was together. that single pentacle now in the middle of that rainbow bridge. And in this deck, the 10 of Pentacles has a pentacle inside of a pentacle. Again, the eclipse is here in the 12 swords. So I don't know. I know it's what, a full moon Taurus, lunar eclipse, full moon Taurus, solar eclipse, new moon. Hold up. Full moon Taurus lunar eclipse. So is it going to be a new moon Scorpio solar eclipse, or is it going to be new moon Sagittarius solar eclipse? This thing almost did 13 battery. Well, let's go to October 20th. Why not? Well, let's check the summary. Moon in Libra, moon in Scorpio. New moon, October 25th, 5:49. Are you the eclipse? Girl, I don't know. Anyway, it's making me think of the eclipse, okay? The solar eclipse. Oh, where is this? Oh, it's all sliding down. Sliding down. Well, I just heard it. I'll just sit you here. I'll find it later. I feel like I pulled more decks than I realized. Oh, I should have timestamped where this is over. I'll just timestamp it here. Timestamps are approximations. Well, I'll timestamp it for like 5 minutes ago because I think I've been doing this for a bit. So I'll say 1:30. I'm just timestamping for 1:30. And I'll save it and then I'll just edit it later. Okay. Oh, I hope my food ain't cold. I wanted to finish this today, Aquarius. I didn't necessarily think this would go this long. But I didn't necessarily think it would either. Using 4 little tarots. The thing about the constellations, though, for Aquarius, again, going back to that bad star, that King of Pentacles, it's like there are understanding of the world around us, and through that, again, it's like it builds out our whole worldview, how we connect the stars in the constellation. And if you reconnect the dots in a different order, you can get an entirely different shape, bring forward an entirely different story, play on an entirely different mythology or on an entirely different truth, and just like run with it, build with it, keep going with it, right? I think this is the garden or the park. I see lilies 30. I saw the number 30. 30 is right here, oneness. I was like, I saw the number 30 earlier. So what about the garden? The book number 26 at the bottom as I stop. The book number 26 at the bottom as I stop. The garden, she's giving Eden, girl. She's giving Adam and Eve. At the very beginning, this is what happened. And it's like, because I ain't trying to come for nobody faith. I ain't trying to come for nobody religion. But it's like, because because it seems like certain, especially Judeo-Christian, I'll say Christian because I don't know nothing about no Judaism, girl. It seems that because of the way that the story of the events that took place in the Garden of Eden, it seems like because the events that took place in the Garden of Eden are told slash interpreted slash certain themes of that are picked up in a certain way, it's really easy for us to learn to see ourselves as inherently flawed beings and inherently flawed creatures who are constantly seeking penance because we are not worthy as we are, because of the original sin, because Eve ate the apple. Now we are doomed to an eternity of worthlessness, when it might be like, it's not like, did that not happen? No, it's more like, it's almost like if you were telling somebody something out of it, and it's almost like, why did you like choose that specific detail to focus on, to interpret this in that way, when like there was a lot more to it. Like as I was creating this, let's see, I'm not trying to, it's like art. Okay, when a person creates a piece of art, especially like a movie or a book or something like that, but it can be any kind of art, but in like a movie or a book, and they like the characters come to life within that artist in a certain way and they give it to the world, and then there's one person who watches, reads it, and they're like, oh, like I really love how like you took this character on this certain trajectory, and like how this was like their motivations and their reasonings behind doing what they were doing, and how they grew and evolved in this way, and the author is like, oh my gosh, like I love that interpretation. But when I wrote it, like I wasn't aware of any of that, girl. Like that character in particular, that's not what came to me to write in that character. But I love that you can make those connections in that way to make that character come to life in this way. You know what I mean? But it's like that's how we can sort of like focus on a certain detail, and especially fear, desire, whatever, like those whatever I listed earlier, that can cause us to pick up on certain details and to like build, like have those be core central to the telling of the moral of the story or whatever. But it like might be this whole other thing that we kind of sort of miss because we get stuck on that one detail. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying it's right. Again, I'm not trying to come for anybody's faith or religion, but it's like because of what happened in Eden, now we are eternally. It's like we live lives of eternal damnation unless we whatever. And it's like, well, what if like God doesn't even see us that way? And it's funny because I thought about that yesterday, or was that today? I was driving back to the store, and I was thinking about how the perception that I used to have of myself was like someone who didn't fulfill the potential that he had and who would be doing the world of, and it took 10 years to get my undergrad degree because of life. And after I got it, I made a post on my Facebook, and one of my Latin teacher, I think she commented on it, or she commented on something. And I was like, yeah, I finally did it. Like, I'm not a waste of potential. And she said, I never saw you that way. And since I had her for 4 years in school, girl. I had her when I was a better student and when I was a worse student. Um, and for her to say, like, I never saw you that way, because I almost thought it was like the way that everybody saw me, but that wasn't the case. Um, it's like it was, and I already forgot where I was going with this, but I remember I was talking about Eve and stuff like that. It's like because like that's how I saw myself, because that's what my story was. It caused me to do a lot of things. And here recently, today, one of my good friends from school, who I haven't talked to in a minute, but regardless, one of his best friends is getting married, and he posted stuff from the bachelorette party on his Instagram. And he sounds the same, looks pretty similar. Um, but instead of being like, I don't know, instead of being in the energy of like everything that I missed while I was in my, I guess I'll say, self induced hell of isolation and denying myself connection and all kinds of things that I wanted. Like, instead of looking back on that and being like, oh my gosh, like that was so sad, or like, I can't believe I did that, I'm just more excited for the life I get to live now that I'm not there anymore. You know what I mean? Like, excited for things to come rather than trying to project my, like, or trying to guess like what my life could have been like if I had then what I have now. It's just like, oh my gosh, like, and I think it's partially because, oh girl, we're gonna go there, it's fine. It's almost like wedding season has hit for me. Like, there were a lot of people that I knew going through school, and I had a certain level of friendship with. Because with most people, I didn't desire to get super close to people. I didn't really keep in contact. Like, I've seen the weddings of people that, like, I guess I, like, honestly, I wasn't that close to, but now like I'm starting to get like the people who were in my circle who were a little closer to me are starting to get married. So like now I'm starting to like go to weddings of people I went to school with and stuff like that. And like the wedding that I just went to, the friend that I went with to that wedding, like I was her plus one. And now like there's another mutual friend that I have, and she's like my plus one to that wedding. And then when we go to that wedding, like there's a couple that's more than likely going to be at that wedding who like are about to get married or whatever. And maybe it's because of that. It's like it's because I guess I can see some of those shifts and changes happening. Easier for me to get caught up in the past. But again, I don't know. It's just like not my natural reaction right now. My natural response isn't to like, woe is me and like I missed out on all this connection. It's just like excited for everything that I'm available for now. Excited for everything that I'm willing to do now. I don't know. And again, I forget where that whole tangent came from. But I did think about how I used to see myself in the story I told myself of me. And so because of that, it's like I saw myself on like the negative end, or like I saw myself in reflection of like all the things I didn't go for, or like not having my degree in the standard time and not being here and not being there. And it's like for me, like anytime I talked about that with people while I was still in school, it's like they were like, it was basically like your journey, your path is your journey, your path. Like your life is your life, and it doesn't make you any less than someone who did it in the traditional whatever. And it's something that I knew on one hand, but again, because of the way that I viewed myself and because of the way that I told my story to myself, it's almost like it wouldn't have made too much of a difference. It wouldn't have really mattered. Right. And again, I forget where that tangent came from, but I believe it was connected to that Adam and Eve in the garden. And because I was going to say, like, what if the creator doesn't even see us in that way? That's why I started talking about that. Because, like, that's what can be used by some people to illustrate, justify every single person's inherent, like, flaw or imperfection or like sinfulness, but it's in a way that again it's like it makes us very unworthy, But it's like, what if Creator doesn't even see us like that? What if God doesn't even like see us as our sins or as our transgressions or whatever? Not to say that, there isn't account at all. Not to say that. If that's not the story of humanity, like God, Creator, Spirit holds. And so it's almost like some of us, and it doesn't have to be like Christianity and Adam and Eve and humanity specifically. Like it's not specific to that. That's an illustration of a larger, more general energy of how we can view something in a certain way and run or like create the basis of our understanding of ourselves and the world and ourselves in the world and ourselves as a piece of the world, and how like it just fuels all of that from like they. And it's because of that all the way back there that again we sort of trapped in a five of wands energy, and there is a truth that remains almost eternally asleep. And it's because we see ourselves as like unworthy and inherently flawed, and it's ourselves as a beautiful creation like the Creator might see us. I ain't gonna say the Creator definitely sees us that way, because well, I don't know. I'm just, what if that's not how we're viewed? And what if that's why we can be on the receiving end of so much love and on the receiving end of so much grace and so much mercy? Because we're not seen as sin in flesh, like walking sin. You know what I mean? Anyway. And maybe that's just all that has to be undone within the collective remnants from the age of Pisces as we move further into the age of Aquarius. And again, Aquarius people is putting a lot of energetic burden on the age of Aquarius and on Aquarian energy. Number 29, prosperity, fortune, pure intentions. Card of manifestation. And we see masculine and feminine features in this androgynous being. Apparently, that's a theme today. Divine androgyny. Oh, and then galactic guidance, number 18. Star family, assistance, and cooperation. Now, galactic guidance could literally be galactic guidance, but galactic guidance can also be playing on that energy of like other people that aren't necessarily reflections of self from like a different world, from a different bubble. People from their own bubbles and spheres of reality and influence, sort of like coming together. You know what I mean? And again, like it's not about my truth, it's about you, or it's about Aquarius. It's about in Aquarian energy, us all getting closer to the core of our truths by sometimes revisiting, analyzing various beliefs that we might have or hold, or just things that we've sort of always accepted as true. That, like maybe it is true, but the way that we sort of like look at it or the things that we choose to focus on might not necessarily um, serve us in ways of like not moving forward, but I don't know. It's almost like not having us playing a losing game or something like that. If it's starting at a deficit or with a deficit. Hola, Holly. Thank you. This one was definitely a little, whoo, especially after Aries. I did not expect it, but hey, that's fine. Aries was literally the individual. This Aquarius was the collective. you know. And so Aquarius was kind of sort of at a disadvantage um, in that way. Because if you as an individual are like doing everything you need to do or whatever, doesn't necessarily mean that the collective is reflecting the same energy. But like, let's say that teacher is part of your path. Then if teacher is part of your path, it's like you can't teach someone something that they already know. And you can't teach anyone if everyone knows everything. So, because teacher is on your path, it's almost like there is to be some truth that you have or something that you know that you give to others. And, whether or not they receive it or how they receive it is up to them. But it's almost like it's just like if that's part of the path, you're almost like difference is a part of the path. So, anyway. Anyways. I need to do some cleaning today, and that did not happen. The card that came out is the Empress. Is that Urania? Gloria Mundi, Urania's Gate. You see the zodiac up there? The card at the bottom of the deck is the Tower. It is the Golden Shield. The Golden Shield was the one that stood guard. That was like no entry permitted. Where the Herald of the Flame got entry, like that was the Page of Wands that was on this, and some awakening initiatory pathway. And the first thing they had to do was slay the demon. That Aries was like in that energy. She was on the other side, or he was on the other side. Like, you ain't ready for this. But anyway, the Empress with the Tower, rather than that Emperor Aries energy. Interesting. 159 is where I am right now. Or you can just start 2 hours in, if that makes it easier. Because I don't know where my colon is. By the time I finish typing this, it's going to be 159, like 30. So, oh, my bells. 159. Enjoy the rest of your evening. How's that? Now, the thing I like about I don't know if I've ever read this. Material and physical. There's a card, I think it's a diamonds. It's a bell that brings the physical and intangible into harmony as it pulses out into the universe. Collision or cohesion. Are the physical and spiritual going to be in a disharmonious state where they sort of like work against each other and tear each other apart? Or are they going to be in like a synchronistic aligned harmony where the spiritual supports influences, supports, enhances, nurtures the physical, and the physical does the same for the spiritual, where they both grow and increase rather than working against each other? This feels Urania's gate. It's not Uranus, but that's what this feels like. Uranian energy. And that was like, if there's anything that stands in the way of it, it's going down. If there isn't, then there's nothing to tear down. Like Uranus isn't tearing up stuff just for the sake of tearing up. But the Empress is here. Gloria Mundi. Maybe this is just like, oh, I didn't even catch that. Oh my gosh, it's Venus and Mars. The only two planets that are direct. The face of the Empress is hidden and she's being silenced by the tail of that dragonfly. Um, Maybe it's truths. Because again, a lot of the Aquarian reading is like things that we believe to be fundamentally true, that we base our entire perception of conception of reality and our experience on top of. And maybe something will be said, something will come out that might show for there to be a little bit more unknown than we may have initially thought. And then there's the fallout of like, well, if this isn't true, then what else isn't true? And it doesn't necessarily have to be a full thing. It doesn't necessarily have to be an everything thing. If you learn that something new is true, it could just be like, instead of having to spiral into like what all may be false or what all is invalidated, it's just like live life day by day. And as situations come up, reevaluate them or just be a little bit more conscious or aware of like where you're making choices and decisions from. And if that truth is like a core truth to you, or if that truth was like given to you and that became one of your core truths, is like it's a thing, but also like, does it resonate to the truth of who you are? Does it resonate to who you were when you first came upon it? And again, that's where that fear, desire, whatever can get us to see something in a certain type of way and to focus on certain details and to use those details to build out our understanding. Right? Doesn't necessarily mean it's the case now. So, with all that being said, surprisingly, 2 hours later, I hope you'll have an amazing whenever you see this. Unless you don't want to have an amazing one, I hope you have the time that you wish to have. Not only like more and more and more like the potential to be your reality, but to experience that more and more and more in various aspects and sectors of your experience. Ooh, Aquarius. And that's interesting because that's what I said the bad star was earlier. That's what I said, like the energy of the bad star could be earlier. How it's a star of creation, but it creates through stopping certain cycles so that new ones can begin. Because we're ending this almost with like, as we enter the age of Aquarius, there are some things that became true or things that we held as true or certain perspectives and angles and aspects that we built upon in the age of Pisces, and to proceed in the way that the age of Aquarius has been set up to be, and just the way that it can be. Some of that stuff from the age of Pisces might have to crumble. Some of it might have to fall apart. Some of it may not be who we are now, at the very least. Some of it might not be who we ever were. But maybe it benefited a certain select group of people for us to believe that it was true. Just reevaluation in general, you know? And it isn't always a bad thing. It doesn't always have to be like, oh my gosh, now I have to reevaluate everything. Sometimes we can day by day, moment by moment, and as we grow, change, and evolve, and as our conception of what is true to us for us, or what is true outside of us, changes, deepens, and evolves, we kind of situation by situation sort of basis. Because as we learn to incorporate and accept that, or as those things change on that fundamental level, we're going to start to feel like the dissonance, or it's going to resonate less, or it's going to resonate differently. And then if it resonates differently, just play on or allow that new resonate to unfold. Allow it to unfold in the way that it resonates now, rather than the way that it resonates before. And again, Aquarius fixed air, just fixed air makes it seem like a challenge, like it could be a challenge for Aquarian energy. It doesn't necessarily have to be. Because again, it's like if you're ruled by Uranus, like it doesn't have to be a challenge at all. Even being ruled by Saturn, it doesn't have to be a challenge. Because I think Saturn has a little bit more, I think some of the planets have a little bit more to do with like alignment or truth in a way where it's like if it's aligned to truth, or if there is an element of resonance to it, those energies are as smooth and easy. The dissonance or a disconnect, and it's not like that path to truth is not clear, that's when we start to get a lot of like challenge, or that's when things can be feeling extra restrictive or extra unstable, extra shaky, extra breaky. But again, it's like that kind of sort of condition a little bit. And our, I don't know, just desire to have something like steady or stable, or to not be completely clueless. You know what I mean? You know what I mean. You're a human. You get it. Maybe, maybe not. Not hashtag not all humans. I will catch you on the next one. It's been quite a while since January 4th, but this live Zodiac series is finished. I had this done all in one day, months ago. Everything Mystic, check her out. Bye.